Welcome to In Real Life, Foster Care Unfiltered, where real foster families share their journeys, the challenges, joys, and life-changing impact of opening their hearts and homes. In each episode, we explore the experiences of foster parents and the difference they make, with insights and guidance from Children's Home Society of North Carolina. If you've ever wondered what it takes to foster, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the In Real Life podcast. We have more than one special guest today, so you're in for a treat. We have our foster care to permanency leadership team here at CHS, who are going to tell you a little bit about foster care at CHS. So welcome, guest.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just start with some introductions. So if you guys will tell us a little bit who you are, so your name, where you work in the state, and what part of the program that you lead, and anything else that you may want to share. We'll just go in alphabetical order here, so we'll kick off with Deborah.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm Deborah Artis. I am one of two senior program directors with Children's Home Society. I'm in the eastern part of the state, so I supervise some of the central down to the eastern part of the state. That includes our Fayetteville, Raleigh, Greenville, Elizabeth City, as well as some of the Greensboro area as well. So I'm with foster care and adoption.
Thank you, Deborah. Jeremy?
Thanks for having me, Shannon. I'm Jeremy Wagner, the Director of Family Engagement with Children's Home Society. I actually supervise two teams here at Children's Home Society. One is our recruitment team, it consists of a team of family recruitment specialists who are in charge of spreading awareness, education around the state to kind of the current status in foster care and child welfare, what needs are in recruiting foster and adoptive families. I also supervise a team that serves across the state that we call the resource team. That team is a group of ladies that handles all the referrals that we get from our 100 DSS county partners and any other private agencies that work with us to place children for adoption, respite, or foster care placements.
Thank you, Jeremy. And last but not least, Miss Nicole.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicole Chandler. I am Deborah's counterpart, so I'm the Senior Program Director in the central and the west part of the state. So I cover Greensboro, Charlotte, Morganton, up through Asheville, and I also work with foster care permanency.
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting us know who we're talking with today. So I'm just going to throw a question out there, and anyone feel free to give an answer. Let's talk a little bit about the state of foster care in North Carolina. Specifically, our knowledge base, of course, is Children's Home Society in partnership with the 100 counties that we serve. But how are we doing in the foster care arena in North Carolina? What are the ongoing needs for foster parents in our communities that you all see?
Shannon, I guess I'll start with this just from the front end of things. What we see a lot is there's a huge need across the state. Every county, every community has a need for foster families. The reality is post-pandemic, since COVID, we all know that there were great impacts there. And we've seen a dramatic decrease in the number of licensed foster families around the state. During COVID and right when COVID had started and during the pandemic, we were capping out around 7,400 licensed families statewide, not just within CHS, but across the state of North Carolina. That number currently has fell to close to 5,400 licensed families. And that 5,400 licensed families doesn't equate or give enough beds to the 11,000 plus children across the state that are in foster care. So quick math, we can see that there's less than half of the amount of homes that there are children in foster care. And so the need is present every single day for children to have safe and loving homes and just to be in a temporary placement that may turn to a longer term placement, but a temporary placement to be safe and feel loved while families can get things situated in their home life.
Thank you, Jeremy. Deborah and Nicole, would you add anything to that?
No, I would just agree with Jeremy. Based on where we are with child welfare right now, we're seeing many more children enter the foster care system for a variety of reasons. So we definitely need a larger variety of families to meet the individual needs of each one of those children.
Yes, I would agree with Jeremy and Deborah that the calls have not slowed down. We don't have enough foster families, but we're still receiving referrals every single day and children sitting in offices and children sleeping in DSS offices. And all hours of the night, we're still getting calls. So the need is definitely there.
Nicole, you just raised something that our listeners may not be aware of, that we receive calls every day, even on weekends and holidays and after hours, from our 100 county DSS partners, because at CHS we serve and work with all 100 counties. But could one of you expound on when we get a call, if we don't have an available and appropriate foster parent for that child or children being referred, what's the reality of what may happen?
I'll speak to that. The reality is that if there's not anywhere for the child to go, then that said child is sitting at DSS across the state, or maybe a visitation center. But as much as we don't want children staying there, that also means that social workers are staying there around the clock, and it's just not a good environment. They've already been taken from everything they know, and every time we don't have a resource or another agency doesn't have a resource, they're then spending their nights in a building, and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah. There's been some news articles in the past about just the state of foster care in North Carolina, and that there were kids sleeping in DSS offices. Do you guys know anything about the current status of that happening in North Carolina?
Shannon, I receive calls every day and talk to social workers from other DSS offices around the state. And many times in those conversations, there's still children sleeping in DSS offices. There are some DSS offices that have built rooms to be more of a bedroom style room instead of an office. So children have a home-like place to stay, even though they have to be in an office with DSS. And what really gets me is I really think about that child sitting there and listening to DSS call families and call families and call families. And again, just as Nicole said, we're talking about children that have already been removed from most everything that they know, and now they're hearing families say no, no, no. And just thinking of the trauma that continues to inflict and the children experience on a daily basis that we know happens continuously right now because of the shortage of homes. It's just really sad.
Yeah, you can't help but be affected by the thought of that and picturing those youth sitting there listening to their social worker try to find a safe place for them to go after they probably just experienced one of the worst things that's probably ever happened to them, being separated from everything they know. With that in mind, can you guys help our listeners kind of get in a frame of who these children are? Because we're not talking about fictional people that are not, these are real kids who are needing homes every day of the week across North Carolina. Who are the kids being referred to foster care in regards to ages, geographic areas? Who are they? What are their needs?
Currently, we see referrals for children of all ages, all demographics, any situation that you can imagine. We see children that are anywhere from a day to a month old to 17, 18 years old in referrals. We see single children that are referred. We see sibling groups of 4, 5, 6, sometimes 8 children referred at one single time. And so there's not a descriptive way to say this is what children in child welfare or foster care look like. It's all children that we see. 75% of children come just because of situations of neglect. It's not always these situations of abuse that people think of that sometimes is portrayed in media or people hear just because of what they think. But it's children that are living life and families are struggling and situations arise that unfortunately these children are brought into the child welfare system. But again, all ages, all races, all genders, all children that need a safe and loving home.
One of the things for our listeners to know, I get to lead these amazing group of people, so I talk to them on a regular basis. But Jeremy, I know one of the things, and Nicole and Deborah and I talk about this a lot as well, one of the things that really pulls at my heart, we get a lot of referrals for siblings, whether that be a sibling group of 2 or a sibling group of 5 or 6. Can you talk to us a little bit, either of you, about sibling groups and the needs there and the realities there?
Yeah, I can take that one. I don't think that people realize, or I think it's a myth that people think that sibling usually means 2 kids. But that's not always the case. It's typically not the case. A lot of times we see referrals, like Shannon said, for 7 kids, for 8 kids. And we all know that that's a lot to ask for a family to take on, such a large sibling group. We would love to have more of those families if anybody's out there willing. But the reality is that a lot of times we don't have that. So we oftentimes seek families that can stay connected with those siblings and can do sibling visits and keep those siblings together as much as possible. But the reality is, and our hope always is to keep as many siblings together as we can and to not split them.
Yeah. What does it look like when we can't keep siblings together? What does that look like?
First of all, we are very disappointed because we realize the sibling bond and how important that is. Then we start to problem solve. Are there foster parents that live in close proximity to each other? Are there foster parents that know each other that can take these siblings to maintain that sibling relationship? maybe possibly playing together once or twice a week, just being that support for each other so the siblings also have the opportunity to interact on a regular basis and keep it as normal as we possibly can. So we try to be as creative and innovative as we can to ensure that the sibling group maintain that relationship, because that's one of the strongest bonds they'll ever have in their life in most cases.
So to kind of elaborate on what Deborah was just sharing about, and Nicole as well, we get sibling group referrals from anywhere from 2 to possibly 7. But here of late, as Jeremy highlighted, the shortage of foster parents in North Carolina, and it's not just a North Carolina problem either for our listeners, it's a nationwide shortage that began in COVID and has continued. But the reality, too, is that oftentimes we're having to separate siblings of 2 or 3 because of the availability of homes and DSS needing to find an appropriate, safe place for them to be. Would any of you like to say along? I just want our listeners to really conceptualize what we mean by siblings possibly having to be separated because of the current need and shortage of foster homes.
Definitely. I think, unfortunately, every single day we see the need to separate sibling groups. What's happening is that, again, just as we said, there's not enough homes. And so, as Deborah had mentioned, separating sibling groups is detrimental to a child. That child has already been removed from everything that they know. And sometimes that sibling bond is the last piece of their biological family that's really keeping them strong and keeping them together and keeping that hope alive for them in the moment. When we separate the sibling groups, again, that child's going through even more trauma and losing that sibling bond. Hopefully, we always try to keep siblings in the same community and in the same home as possible, but sometimes that's not possible. In addition to when we see the separation of sibling groups, it's not just in the same community that we see. We're seeing children placed outside of their home community many times throughout the week. Sometimes children are placed across the state. They're placed across county lines. And just because of the availability of homes and the need for more homes, placements are happening more and more that are distant from birth communities.
Yeah. And maybe, Nicole, could you speak to why it's better to keep kids in their home communities or as close to their home communities when possible? What would be the benefits of that if we could have a better representation and recruitment of foster families that would step up in all 100 counties?
Yeah. Anytime that any child can have any bit of familiarity to where they come from, where they have roots, where they know a teacher, where they know a doctor, is so beneficial to the trauma that they've been through and already being removed from, like we said, everything they know, sometimes at a moment's notice. The more normality that we can keep in a child's life, the better. And a lot of times it takes a long time to be rooted in a community, and then to all of a sudden be out of that community makes a huge difference. So anytime we can have a coach or, like I said, a teacher or a friend or anything that can keep some stability for that child, it is so important.
Yeah. So really a great need for foster parents, no matter where you live in the state of North Carolina or what city or county. We need representation from all so we can keep these kids rooted with their communities or as close to them as possible in regards to why they're entering and helping them to heal. Let's talk more about the kids that we're serving and that we're getting referrals for. Can you guys kind of highlight for our listeners, why do kids enter foster care? What are some of the needs that bring them to foster care and their families of origin?
Shannon, most of the referrals that we see come in are most of the time because of neglect. It may be because of financial insecurities within a family. There may be because of supervision issues, because a family is having to choose between childcare or going to work and being able to keep the lights on. There are many issues that we see, and we do randomly see those cases that are more severe. But a lot of times it's because of just a life situation that a family is going through and really struggling. I don't believe that there are families that wake up in the morning with the idea that I want to do something to negatively impact my child every day. But unfortunately, circumstances arrive where children need to be placed in a setting outside of their home so the biological family can get things together and get to a place where safety and love is present without having to have child welfare involvement. What we see continuously is the state of society today, post-pandemic. We're seeing a lot of families and the shift of community-centric involvement be to family and individual specific. And so it sometimes makes it harder for families that we try to recruit and we try to get awareness out because they're invested in their family. Because through the pandemic, we started looking and changing kind of what we valued and what we look to in life. What we've also seen for referrals that are coming in a lot of times is that children just they need stability and love. A lot of times I think that there are fears of foster parents for they don't understand the situations that children are coming from, and there's misrepresentations in prospective families' minds of what they need to be as a foster parent. And the biggest thing is no matter what situation the child is coming from, as long as the family has love and they have openness and flexibility in their home, they can help any child that comes into care.
Thank you for highlighting that, Jeremy. Kind of going down that pathway, there's a lot of misconceptions and myths about foster care, about foster youth, about birth families, about DSS, about private agencies. There's just a lot of myths and misconceptions that are out there in our communities. For our listeners, what would you guys say are some of the common misconceptions and then the reality behind what it means to be a foster parent and or foster care in general?
I think, Shannon, there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot to be said there. I know that when I'm training potential foster parents, and it's natural as we as humans have stigmas around birth parents and things that happen. But what I always try to hone in is that no matter how hard life is at home or what it may have looked like or what have happened, home's home, right? And that's important for all of us to remember. And that I have never met a birth parent that doesn't love their child.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a reality of life is hard. Life is hard for us as normal functioning adults, and things happen, and we all need to remember that. So, foster parents and birth parents and social workers, we're all just trying to do the best that we can, and sometimes life gets in the way of that. And I really try to hone in on that with foster parents and also with kids entering care that they didn't ask for this to happen. So we need to have all the grace that we can.
Yeah.
I was going to say, in addition, there's so many myths that surround just the whole thought of becoming a foster parent. Not only the myths that Nicole mentioned about biological families and children, but also there's just so many questions that come up. We have conversations every single day of, am I too old? I'm single. I don't own my home. I'm a member of, or I align with the LGBTQ plus community. All of these things come up in conversation every single day. And, there are some state regulations that you have to be at least 21 years of age. And, we want to see stability and love, and you have to have room in your home. But at the end of the day, if you can provide a loving environment and you can provide a safe environment for a child, we want to be able to work with you. There's many ways you can help children in foster care. One of the biggest ways is to become a foster parent. But there's so many other things that you can do as well. And so don't let the thoughts of these myths or the I don't knows keep you from connecting with someone and being able to help these children that need it so much every single day.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. One of the things I commonly hear from people, and sometimes it's just in passing, I don't know about you all, but I often ask the question on an airplane or in a store, it always comes, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And when you start talking about it, and they're like, oh, that's so great. That's great work. And I often have heard over the years, those poor kids, they have so much going on. I've heard the term they're messed up. I've heard the term they have lots of issues. Our kids are resilient. They've come into care at no fault of their own because of dynamics within their birth family, whether it was abuse, neglect, or what have you. They've done nothing to ask to come into foster care. They're resilient. They're fighters. May they have some behavioral and social emotional issues? Yes, but generally we can mitigate that through stability and services. What would you all say about that if there are listeners out there just wondering about what opening my home may be, especially maybe if I'm already a biological parent and I have other children in my home?
I think the reality is that we have to remember that they're kids, and there is no perfect child. There's no perfect adult. I have two biological sons of my own, and they're not perfect, nor am I. And they haven't been through significant trauma. So just remembering that we're so quick to put a label on a child like, oh, they're in foster care. A lot of times it's just because they're 12 or they're 13, not because they're in foster care. And it's hard to walk that gray line, but also to remember that a lot of times, like Jeremy said, they just need love. They need stability. But when it boils down to it, they're just kids, and expectations and what we expect. And yes, like you said, Shannon, they may have some behavioral challenges or some things they need to work through. But at the end of the day, they're just still children.
Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that. And I will say, I've met a lot of foster youth that we've worked with. While we've worked with them after they're reunified, after they're adopted, we serve, and I think you guys tell me if you agree, some amazing youth who, despite their circumstances and things they've been through, just resilient and talented and funny and smart, just amazing humans.
Absolutely.
There are approximately 11,000 children in North Carolina who need a permanent, safe, and loving home. Can you make a difference? Children's Home Society offers training, resources, and support to help you become a licensed foster parent. Learn more at chsnc.org and start your foster care journey today.
Talk to us. So there's probably a couple of different people. We maybe have professionals that are listening in the child welfare arena. We may just have people who are curious about foster care, maybe those that are considering becoming foster parents. We may also have some current foster parents listening. What would you all say? Jeremy highlighted that we get calls every day statewide, and we're one private agency within North Carolina. These same calls are coming into DSS agencies across the state as well as other private agencies. What does it mean when a family says no, or possibly after hours or on the weekend or a holiday and it's midnight and DSS is needing to find placement for if a family, the urgency in which I guess we need placement? What would you all say to our listeners about that who maybe are currently licensed?
I would say, if at all possible, prepare yourself for those late night calls. Unfortunately, when children need placement, there's no time frame on it. It can occur anytime, night or day. And if you're prepared to say yes, then you will be providing a safe landing for children that are definitely in need of it and already in a little bit of a flux, being removed from their family. And what they need, as Nicole said earlier, is stability and someone just to give them the grace and give them the love that they need during that time while they're able to adjust a little bit. So being available at any point in time, that's what fostering is about. That's what foster care and providing foster care is about, is being there at the time that a child may need us so that they're not sleeping in a very sterile environment of a DSS agency.
Yeah. Thank you for Deborah for that. And I love how you highlighted, as you're getting licensed and when you get licensed, having those conversations with whoever your village is, your partner, your family, like what situation are you set up to say yes to so that because it may be that we're getting that call and the kids are physically sitting at DSS because they've just been removed. So kind of knowing what you're able to handle and what you're not and what you may need support with so that you can quickly make those decisions and you have a support system of people that are standing in the gap to help you with that. Jeremy, if you could talk to us a little bit about what does CHS do to recruit foster parents and support them in the recruitment process?
Yeah, so recruiting foster parents is really, really difficult. We talk about just the changes in society and changes in kind of where people put their energy post-pandemic. And so we try to have a really comprehensive approach. We actually have 6 recruiters that work statewide doing nothing but supporting families, educating families, and spreading awareness. Actually, 5 of those are community-based. And so we have regions around the state where we have recruiters in the community. Their whole job is to spread awareness, spread education, news interviews. We have commercials that air. We do public events. We do speaking engagements. We do public and virtual information sessions. Anything we can to partner with community members, partner with businesses to spread that awareness of the children that need safe and loving homes. In addition, on that team, we have a person that's one of those recruiters that really serves as customer support. We call her our family experience specialist, and that's what her whole role is about the family experiences that families have when they work with CHS. And so she is specialized and focused on nothing but customer service, and that may be customer service through the application process. It may be questions prior to even applying. It's working through HubSpot, our customer relationship management tool, to outreach families in any way, shape, or form that fits them. And so we text, we email, we call, we have in-person visits. We can meet a family at a coffee shop to have conversations or to help them with the application in their home, or we can do that virtually. So any channel that you can think that we could get in front of families, we try to do so to help any family that has any interest or even doesn't know that they have interest know about foster care and what they can do to help.
Thank you, Jeremy. Nicole and Deborah, could one or both of you talk to us about What training and ongoing support once a family becomes licensed does CHS provide to foster parents?
I guess I can start out and Nicole can piggyback and jump in. So initially when a family comes our way, there is a initial training called MAP, or there's other versions of it considering whether or not you're a kinship provider or possibly a non-kinship. So there's 30 hours of training. As an agency, we try to make sure that that training is as convenient as possible. We offer training throughout the state because we are a statewide agency. So it's taking the time to invest in that training, which is one of the most important parts of what we do and how we do it, because of the fact it gives a lot of information about the foster care system in North Carolina, as well as the needs of children that are coming into foster care. Even though we may be parents or grandparents or have provided care for children, often we need that little extra piece to talk about the trauma that these kids may have experienced as well. So that's the initial 30 hours of MAP training. And that's the training that all of our families will go through. And then from there, there's an array of continuing education. And I'll let Nicole kind of fill in some of the continuing education that we offer, because what we want to do is make sure that our parents are as prepared as they can possibly be. And we're willing to create trainings that are necessary as we move along in this process.
Yes, as Deborah said, trainings, our families would probably get tired of us bugging them about trainings. I know they do. But we really try to wrap our arms around our families, especially in that first year, that first 6 months. You think you can be prepared, but you're never truly prepared for what may come up day to day. So if there's a training about it, we offer it. If there's not one, we'll find one. We try our best. We offer all kinds of trainings, as Deborah said. We also have an online platform where we have on-demand trainings that families can log in and take at their own pace. But we really try to support our parents, not just through training, but do you need an extra visit? Do you need to talk through something that happened that day? We can be that listening ear. Whatever you need, we try our best to be that middle person to help.
Yeah. In addition to all of that Deborah and Nicole highlighted, we also have a mentorship program that matches seasoned foster parents with newer foster parents just for some one-on-one coaching. Sometimes parents may need a little bit of advice from someone that's in the trenches and experiencing it, and maybe not just a professional. There's also events. Do you guys want to talk about those and how they support foster families?
Yeah, I love our events. Actually, was in a meeting today and we were talking about a couple of the events that we just had. So throughout the year, we usually have about 4 different events to support our foster parents, because what we do know is that relationship building is very important, and foster parents meeting each other and being able to have someone to be a sounding board, especially foster parents that are in the same area. So we start out the beginning of the year, usually with a kind of back to school event for kids when school starts back. So we do very fun events out in our community and really ask parents to bring the kids and have activities. And we enjoy each other, whether it be around games or food or other things, as well as we provide resources for our foster parents in the form of backpacks and things of that nature.
Thank you for that. And there's several other events that occur, holiday parties, appreciation events, social events, lots of support groups. But overall, our goal is to, as Deborah and Nicole said, wrap our arms around families so they feel supported by us as well as their peers. Because parenting is hard, right, guys? Whether it's biological parenting or foster parenting.
Parenting is hard. And as we all know, it does not come with the manual for foster children or biological children.
And also, we have a freestanding education department that administers and does these trainings, and some of them are one-on-one in the homes too. I don't know if you all want to talk about that.
Sure, I can take that. So we have family education that is made up of trainers that we can do referrals from for our side from foster care that really connect with families one-on-one to help with whatever may be going on. They do go to the home, they sit with the family, sit with the child, activities, trainings, whatever that family needs is just a more of a one-on-one service instead of having to sitting in a training with a lot of people. It's connecting with that family, building that relationship, and just another layer of support.
So I'm going to take a little bit of a different avenue. You guys have been doing this work for a long time. Each of you have different nuances and different levels of experience. What are some of the rewarding things that you've seen over the years of foster youth or foster parents and some of the successes? Anyone want to highlight any of that?
The rewards are great. I think as you move through this process and you see kids that come into our North Carolina foster care system in needs, and you watch those kids blossom, you see them blossom within the foster care homes. And then as they're reunited with their family, I always tell families that for whatever period of time that these children are in your life, know that you make a huge difference. You set some foundations and some ethics in place and some things in place that these kids may not have experienced again. And as you parent them, they're going to remember this for the rest of their life. And some of the rewards that you see, and I've been in this field quite a long time, and it's just getting those calls 10 and 20 and 30 years later stating, or someone saying, thank you. Thank you for helping me be a foster parent. Thank you for being my foster care social worker and providing me what I need, as well. I still have families call me that may have fostered and gone on to adopt children that have been placed in their home. And now those kids are adults and have children of their own. And they're coming back saying, thank you so much for making the difference in our lives. We have seen children blossom. We have seen children become themselves and really build on who they are and have those positive self-esteems. We've had children come through very, very tough times that are now very strong adults. We have some of our children that grew up in the foster care system are now social workers and doing some of the same work that they were exposed to when they were young children and had to be in the system for a period of time. So the rewards are great, whether they're small or whether they're huge. You see the difference. And I think that's what fostering is all about, making a small difference in the life of a child for as long as you can when you're needed.
Yeah, thank you for that, Deborah. Nicole or Jeremy, would you highlight anything that you have seen that kind of pushes you to keep going or a success that kind of sticks out in your mind?
I think for me, a lot of what Deborah said is echoed tremendously. But in addition, I think just seeing the successes that children have and knowing the second chances that they get, be it through reunification or adoption, and always knowing that all of the children we work with today is tomorrow's future. And so just the hope that that provides and the second chances and the reunifications and the adoptions and the successes that children have, knowing that they're going into an adult life at some point with positive role models and love and stability and knowing what that means.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy.
And I'll add to that. I'll just say that our foster parents in general are the most precious people. Not everybody can do it, and we know that. We all say that everybody can help, but not everybody can foster. But those foster parents that we just get to watch just love on these children. And like Deborah said, these children blossom. And I haven't been around as long as she has, but I'm here long enough to see kids that are now grown and in college and being successful and telling their own stories, and that is the most powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Nicole. One of the things I love too is how our foster parents come alongside birth families who are experiencing sometimes the toughest moments in their lives. And when kids are able to go back home, I love it when our foster parents stand in the gap and continue even after the kids exit care to be that support system to birth families. And I've heard and seen story after story of just it's this great weaving of this dynamic family unit of birth family, foster family, and they just make it work and continue to support each other and have relationships. And it's beautiful to watch. And I don't think that gets highlighted enough. So, what would you all say to our listeners who are saying, this is all interesting? What can I do? What would be the next steps for me? Maybe they're interested in becoming a foster parent. Maybe, as Nicole said, fostering may not be for everyone. So maybe I'm not ready to become a foster parent. What could I do because I want to help these 11,000 kids in North Carolina? What would you say would be possible next steps for those listeners?
I would say to reach out, be brave, have a conversation. I have a team of recruiters. I'm on the phone all the time with families Don't let fears of the unknown keep you from reaching out. As Nicole said, there's so many ways that families can help. All families can do something, even if you're not in the situation of being able to invite a child into your home, short term or long term. There's always ways. There's networks, there's introductions. We flyer, we partner with businesses. And so reach out. We have an email line that we can attach or we can talk about. We have direct telephone numbers. But we want to talk to the community because even if you as a person cannot be a foster parent, there's ways that you can help.
Thank you, Jeremy. Deborah and Nicole?
I agree with Jeremy. The first step is just reaching out. You may not truly know how you can make the difference, but reach out and ask the question. Reach out and have a conversation with us or with someone within the foster care community. We can always figure out what's the best way of meeting your need as well as the needs of children in foster care. We all have to make a difference in the lives of the children in North Carolina and beyond. So just ask us. We have great ideas. Jeremy and his team, we have teams across the state. We can figure out where your best fit will be. And everybody's goal is different. So let us help you, help us, help the kids.
Yeah, I would just absolutely add to that to say if you are the one that feels the calling and you're on the edge of your seat and you just have felt like it's not the right time, please call us. We'll be glad to have one-on-one conversation. Now is the time. We need families. We need all types of families from all types of backgrounds. And if you feel that nudge, now is definitely time. We have kids and the need is great.
Yeah, thank you all for that. And for those listeners who are saying, maybe I'm not ready to take the step to be a foster parent, as Jeremy said, there's something you can do. You can invite us to your civic organization, your neighborhood association, your church, for us to talk with people that you're connected to who may be able to say yes to fostering. Our philanthropy team would be willing to talk with you about ways that you financially can support the work with children. There are concrete needs. A lot of our kids that come to us come with the clothes and the shoes on their feet and nothing else. Everyone can do something. I love to say that. I don't know if any of you would add to that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Shannon. Everyone can do something, and you may not be able to do as much as the next person, but it does not matter. Every little bit helps, and every little bit counts. So whatever it is, let us know, and we all together we can make a difference.
Thank you all for engaging in this important conversation today. As we're closing, what final thoughts would you leave with our listeners who may be at different places as we've already highlighted? But what would you like in closing for them to know about foster care or know about the needs in North Carolina?
I think for me, it's just helping people to realize, and sometimes you don't realize, just as Deborah said and Nicole had said, till 15, 20 years later, but every little bit of love makes a difference. There are so many children that need safety and stability and love around the state. And every little bit, you don't have to be rich. You don't have to be able to provide all of the unimaginable things that some families come thinking that they need to be able to provide. If you have space in your home, if you have a loving heart and you have flexibility, you can make a difference in a child's life.
I'll just piggyback on that. I agree. I think that anytime you can love a child, you can love them through what they're going through. I always say, I say my kids because I say they're all mine. But if you love our kids, then, we love you and we want you and we would love to have you at our agency.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you to all our listeners. There'll be information in the show notes in regards to how you can contact us. And I just want to reiterate that our kids did nothing to enter into the child welfare system, and our kids deserve better. And we hope you'll join us in making the world a little bit better for them. Thank you. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us on In Real Life, Foster Care Unfiltered. If you're interested in becoming a foster parent or supporting children in foster care, visit chsnc.org to learn more. And if you're a current or former foster parent with a story to share, email us at inreallifepodcast@chsnc.org.